Hello everyone, and welcome back to Halloweek, where we do multiple lists on multiple spooky topics. Now, one of the most important aspects of Halloween is the movies. Most movies that are associated with Halloween are in the horror genre. However, I thought I'd do two different lists. One with horror movies, and one without horror movies. This list is my top 10 movies for Halloween that are not horror movies. Even though these aren't horror movies, these are still some of the best Halloween movies that you can watch. Without further ado, let's get into the list. Number 10.
If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits?
At number 10, we have Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein. If you've seen any of the original Universal Frankenstein movies, then you're going to appreciate this one so much more. It's hilarious. Gene Wilder puts on an excellent performance. The Frankenstein is also brilliant. It's got that classic Mel Brooks humor to it.
Nobody cares for me.
And it's overall just a really good film. I also really like how they decided to go with the black and white tone for the entire movie to fit the aesthetic of the old Frankenstein movies. But yeah, this thing is a brilliant parody, a great movie to watch around Halloween. Highly recommend it. Number 9.
What do you think of this? You like it?
At number 9, we have Tim Burton's Beetlejuice. Another one that kind of falls into the comedy category. This one is a brilliantly written, brilliantly funny movie. Again, excellent performances, a clever plot, some great dark humor, and on top of all this, you get Tim Burton's excellent art style. Also, seriously, this movie has some excellent practical effects in it, as well as some classic Tim Burton stop-motion effects as well. Again, this one is necessary for anyone's Halloween experience. Number 8.
Okay, John, it's time at the bar.
At number 8, we have Shaun of the Dead. Right around this time, you had movies like Dawn of the Dead, 28 Days Later, just like the whole virus kind of zombie scenario. And the movie Shaun of the Dead parodies this concept brilliantly. Again, this one is really funny, some great British humor, some good zombie action, and just overall a kind of sit back and relax and enjoy kind of film. I consider this one of the best zombie movies ever made, even though it's a parody of one. But yeah, seriously, this movie's great. Moving on to number 7. At number 7, we have 2006's Monster House. I was roughly 8 years old when this movie came out, and I remember liking it when I first saw it. But now that I'm older and I rewatched it, I can appreciate it so much more. I love when a kid's movie has some dark themes to it, and this movie does get pretty dark at some points. But it's funny, it's heartfelt, the animation's a little weird, but it kind of gives it character. There's some excellent fall atmosphere, and the whole movie just screams childhood Halloween. Very enjoyable, it's my number 7. Now moving on to number 6.
And then Mommy kissed Daddy, and the angel told the stork, and the stork flew down from heaven and left a diamond under a leaf in the Cabbage Patch, and the diamond turned into a baby.
Our parents are having a baby, too. They had sex.
At number 6, we have Addams Family Values. Now, the first Addams Family movie is also very, very good, and it definitely has its moments. However, I think the sequel, Addams Family Values, is just a better movie. Something that I love about the Addams Family movies is that it really captures the dark humor of the original comic. Addams Family Values definitely prevails in this area. So you have two story arcs. You have the Uncle Fester story arc, and you have the Wednesday and Pugsley story arc. Although it's the main story arc, the Fester story arc is pretty good, but it's not what makes the movie. I think the most entertaining part about the movie is Wednesday and Pugsley's trip to summer camp. It's just a classic scenario to set those two up in. You know, having these crazy, weird outcasts in this crowd of, like, happy-go-lucky campers.
And to just plain have fun! Because that's what being privileged is all about!
It makes for some really, really great humor. The first time I saw this movie, I was completely hooked throughout the whole entire movie. Super entertaining, super funny. It's a great film for the season. Number 5.
And that this is all getting completely out of hand!
At number 5, we have our first stop-motion film, ParaNorman. I feel like this one isn't nearly as popular as it should be, as it's a really, really good movie. The stop-motion animation is absolutely brilliant and so smooth. The art style is great. The satire is fantastic. It's got some great spooky Halloween themes to it. And overall, the thing is very heartfelt. It's another one that I find just super fun throughout the entire thing. It's funny, it's clever, again, it's heartfelt, the directing is brilliant. Seriously, it's one of my all-time favorite Halloween movies. It might even be one of my favorite movies in general as well. Again, a great one for the season. Number 4.
Making up a song about Coraline. She's a peach, she's a doll, she's a pal of mine. She's as cute as a button in the eyes of everyone who ever laid their eyes on Coraline.
At number 4, we have another stop-motion film, Coraline. Now this one is definitely more popular than the last movie I just mentioned. Both directed by the same person, I believe. But oh man, there is so many reasons why I love this movie. First of all, let's just talk about the art style. I love how when Coraline is in the normal world, everything's so bland and gray and realistic. I love how distressed the people look. And then when she enters into the other world, everything is so vibrant, but it also kind of has like a slightly crooked vibe to it. But it's very mystical and very grand. But then the artwork gets extremely great towards the end when everything starts to kind of go wrong. I don't really want to spoil too much, but just know the artwork in this movie is amazing. The second thing that I love about this movie is that it's pretty damn terrifying. Like, despite the fact that it's a kid's movie, there is some pretty terrifying imagery in this film.
Stay here with us. We will listen to you and laugh with you.
Now, it's obviously nothing that's going to keep you awake at night because it is a kid's movie, but you can look at some of the scenes in this thing and say, like, damn, this is like truly nightmare fuel. I mean, it is based after a book, and the book is pretty dark in itself. But yeah, like I said earlier in the video, I love it when a kid's movie gets dark. And the third thing, and the last thing I'm going to mention in this video that I love about this movie, is just the sense of adventure. So much happens in this movie, and it's just so adventurous. It takes you in so many places. The amount of imagination that they put into this thing is just very inspiring. I don't know, something about it is just so amazing. Seriously, I cannot recommend this movie enough. I believe it is on Netflix right now, so if you have Netflix, go ahead and watch it. If you haven't seen it 1,000 times already like I have. Anyway, moving on to number 3.
I'm just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania.
At number 3, we have the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Now, I am a huge sucker for Rocky Horror. Story time. Now, the first time I was exposed to Rocky Horror, I actually saw the show. It was kind of like a local production in New Hope, Pennsylvania, and I had no idea what to expect going into this thing. And me being in 10th grade, I wasn't really open to, you know, the subject matter that's in this play/movie. So when we got front row to this thing, you bet your Bippy, I was pretty weirded out. I was not comfortable through the whole thing. I didn't even look for most of it. I kind of just left petrified, honestly. Fast forward a couple months, and I start to sing the song Science Fiction Double Feature in my head, because that song is just so damn catchy. Which then led me to go back and listen to the song. And I fell in love with it. Next thing you know, I'm listening to all the songs. Okay, I love the soundtrack. Now it's time to finally watch the movie. So I watched the movie, and what do you know, I actually loved it. Ever since then, I've been to like maybe 3 or 4 different stage productions of the show. So yeah, it's safe to say that I'm pretty obsessed by this point. But yeah, the music is fantastic. The movie is just the definition of campy. It plays out just like a great old B-horror movie, and it's just so quotable and so excellent. I love the ridiculous spooky themes, the exploration of sexuality, and overall just the wackiness. This thing has become a Halloween staple for me. That means either just watching the movie for the 10,000th time, or actually going to see the show again. And the show is super fun. I highly recommend doing it in your lifetime. Basically what happens is when someone says a certain line in the show, everybody knows a certain callback to that. So like somebody will say a line and then the audience will say something back in response to that. And what the audience says is usually very comical and crude. Also in most stage productions, sometimes you throw rice and toast and all kinds of crap on stage. It's just a really fun time. But yeah, this movie is really great. It's one of my all-time favorites, and just an excellent movie for Halloween. Number 2.
Why you wear that stupid bunny suit?
Why are you wearing that stupid man suit?
At number 2, we have Donnie Darko. And the reason I said it like that is because this is my all-time favorite movie. I know I have it at number 2 in this list, but that's just because it's a Halloween movies list. And I think there's one more movie that's my second favorite movie that kind of makes a better Halloween movie, I suppose. But seriously, watch this movie, especially the director's cut. Right now, I believe the theatrical cut is on Netflix, but watch the director's cut because it's even better. This movie is kind of like a mixture of sci-fi, slight horror, drama. It is so well written. It's one of the best time travel movies I've ever seen. It's funny, it's conceptual, it makes you think, it's super depressing. But what makes me put it on this list is that it's actually very Halloween-y as well. The whole thing takes place, I believe, starting on October 27th. But yeah, there's like Halloween stuff all over the town. There's a Halloween party at the end. This thing is just riddled with Halloween stuff, and that's what makes it a really good Halloween film. But seriously, this is my all-time favorite movie, and I somehow seem to like it even better every single time I watch it. It's like every time I watch it, I find something that I missed the time before. And that's another thing. You're gonna have to watch this movie more than once because you're not going to completely get it the first time. It will still be enjoyable the first time, but you're gonna have to watch it, read an explanation online, watch it again, and it'll make so much more sense. And it will open your eyes to how truly brilliant this movie actually is. Seriously, again, this is my all-time favorite movie. Highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Again, watch the director's cut if you can, but if you just rather watch the theatrical version on Netflix, that's totally okay too. Both versions are really good. I just prefer the director's version. But after I said all that, I mean, what movie could possibly be better than my favorite movie of all time? My second favorite movie of all time also happens to be my favorite Halloween movie. In my opinion, it's the best Halloween movie. And it's become such a staple that I don't even know if I have to say it. Number 1. Yes, at number 1, we have The Nightmare Before Christmas. I've seen this movie for as long as I can remember. It came out 5 years before I was born. I remember watching it on VHS. I remember seeing it when it was re-released in 3D in the theaters. I think it's safe to say that I never disliked this movie. Now, there's a common debate as to whether or not it is more of a Halloween movie or more of a Christmas movie, but I think, in my opinion, most of it is very Halloween. It does fit under both categories, but I think, again, for the most part, it's Halloween. Tim Burton's art style in this movie, again, is just brilliant. Even though this thing technically wasn't directed by Tim Burton, it is like one of the most Tim Burton movies out there. I love how crooked everything looks, how the characters look. I love the dark humor. I love the music. Danny Elfman is an excellent composer and an excellent singer. I think it's hilarious how the voice actor for Jack wasn't able to sing, so they just had Danny Elfman do his singing voice, and you really can't even tell the difference. But yeah, I'm sure most, if not all of you, have seen this movie at this point, and if you haven't, you're missing out. Now, this movie actually might not be for everyone. I mean, with all the hype that it gets nowadays, I can understand how somebody would see it and kind of be disappointed, just because of how much of a Halloween staple this movie has become. But to me, I mean, it's just a classic. I love everything about it. I just think it's the best Halloween movie that's out there. Alright, so that was my list for top 10 non-horror Halloween movies. Tune in tomorrow night for more Halloweek spookiness. And, yeah. Go watch one of these movies. I'm out.